Welcome to the Awakening Women Show. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten, a former counselor with a background in counseling psychology. I'm a mentor for high-achieving, ambitious women with over 13 years in the mental health and empowerment space. I've guided hundreds of women and have influenced over 100,000 through my platforms, podcast, and other courses, programs, and mentorship. I'm also the creator of the Relationship Clarity program, formerly known as End the Cycle, which you will hear me mention a lot of times as we go through the episodes. This program is to help women break free from destructive relationship cycles and come to clarity and power about their next step. This show is for the woman who knows her relationship struggles go deeper than the usual conflict. You know there's something more going on, but you can't quite nail it down or pinpoint what that is. You'll find clarity here, empowerment, truth, and validation. Clarity on whether your relationship can be healed or whether it's time to reclaim your life and move forward. What started as me sharing my own experiences quickly became a movement because the truth is, so many ambitious, successful women are stuck in confusing and draining relationship dynamics while trying to rise in every other area of their life, career, motherhood. This is you, you're not alone, and you don't have to keep living this way. Inside this podcast, you'll hear some of my most downloaded episodes, plus fresh content designed to help you break patterns, reclaim your wholeness, and decide once and for all if this relationship is where you belong. I'm so glad you found the space. Welcome to this edition of the Awakening Women podcast. In this episode, I want to talk about something that often is missed when we're having the conversation around relationships that are high conflict, let's say. I don't love that term because then it makes it seem like the issues are equal, which when you're dealing with certain types of behaviors, which I'm going to talk about in this episode, then you are dealing with a power imbalance. And so what I teach women is how to tip the scale so they are then in the power position. Instead of the power under, they take back the power, they take back the reins, and then they put their spouse in that lower sense of power. How to actually do that, it's not like just a one and done thing, but that is what I've been teaching women since 2019, is how to shift into the power position when they have been in the disempowered position. But I want to talk about, before I go into the signs that what you're experiencing is more than just conflict, it's more than a misalignment, it's more than an incompatibility or differing needs, differing personalities, how to know it's more than that, okay? But first, before I go into that, it's really important. This is something that I contemplate a lot, which is, I'm going to see how I can explain this because it's something I think about in my head and then I can't articulate it correctly. But women go through these patterns in relationships where they're continually having to bring things up that hurt their feelings, that feel disrespectful, that make them uncomfortable, that make them sad, that maybe make them feel anxious, they don't like. And there's a reason for why that is. And this is beyond a woman being able to just let go of little things and let small things go. Because when you're in one of these relationships, you're going to have multiple times a day where you feel like you need to bring something up. And this is part of the dynamic. It starts to become more and more like that. And so you bring these things up. Why are you bringing them up? Because they are obviously doing or behaving in some way that's not feeling right to you, that is making you feel badly toward them. And we have to remember that that is the cause of the conflict, not because you have a problem with it. Because when you are talking to a somewhat healthy man that actually loves and cares about you, when you say that ticked me off, that pissed me off, I don't like that, I don't like being talked to like that, I don't like that type of tone. We're saying it maybe a different way. We're using feminine communication around how certain things impact you and how it feels without judgment. But when you're dealing with something like this, it's very different. Because when you bring up the thing, it could be, sometimes it seems like the most benign things, and you bring it up and boom, it's off the rails fighting. The next thing you know, your head is spinning on your shoulders. You're confused. You don't know which way is up. You walk away going, what did I even start with this conversation with? Like, how did it get here? What did I do wrong? How did I go so wrong bringing up this, hey, I actually had hurt feelings when you did this, that, and the other. Or I didn't like being snapped at that way. Or it could be anything. And you bring it up in your most calm, empowered way. Maybe you're not. But you're bringing it up the best that you can with the intent of resolution. But it never becomes that. And so we have to remember that the reason why there's so much fighting and conflict and up and down is related to what? What's the common denominator of all of the chaos and the fights and the distancing and the tension? This is really important. You have to really get this shift to start seeing things from a more awakened lens. That, yes, we're always repairing, we're always working on things. We've been through so much, but is it that, or is it that he has put you through so much? Now, I'm not saying that we are perfect. Women are not perfect. We don't handle things perfectly all the time. We can be bitchy, moody. Maybe some things do rub us the wrong way. We could have just let slide. But when you're in a relationship where it's just constant death by 1,000 paper cuts, it's always something coming at you nonstop all of the time, you're going to get bitchy. You're going to get standoffish. You're going to be cold, and you're going to shut down from any level of intimacy. And that's just the trajectory of this. This is the spiral of these relationships. And it doesn't matter what he is, what his diagnosis is, what a label is. It doesn't matter, because the focus is on what is it doing to you? What's it like being in a relationship with this person? The other thing many women lose sight of is that when people are in a healthier relationship that, they can kind of figure things out, they're not necessarily seeking relationship help and support. And so a lot of these accounts and things that we see online, they exist for people that are not happy in their relationships, especially women. There are a lot of women that are very unfulfilled, and lots of even more serious things going on in the relationship that they're not recognizing what the root of it is. So here are some patterns of less obvious, covert manipulation. And if you have one or more of these things going on within your relationship, this is a sign that there is more than just run-of-the-mill misalignment going on, or differing values, which all matter. But these are signs that there's a lot more going on than just that. Number one, everything is fine, but only until you raise an issue, express a need, or try to talk about something that they did. So many women will say, yeah, everything's calm right now, but that's because they haven't raised any issues. They maybe are just avoiding it, or they're trying to just keep things status quo because things are kind of calm at the moment, or they're not arguing, and so they hesitate to bring anything up. So then they think that, it's actually improving, or it's getting better, or there's some improvements being made here, but really it's just that they have been stifling their voice. So the moment that they express something, it starts up again. Number two is you can't express yourself without him getting defensive. It's like a bam, defensive. It's like whacking your head against a wall. It doesn't matter how you bring it up. It always ends in defense, firing back, saying something negative about you, saying something unkind about you, because they are defending their perceived ego attack. And so all issues that you raise end up in these circular arguments, and they just go around and around and around and around. That is not normal. That's not normal. Do you know anyone else that you have those kind of circular arguments with? Because that is a huge indicator you're dealing with a lot more than just normal relationship conflict. Normal relationship conflict can be resolved quickly through calm discussion. When you're dealing with something that is very unhealthy, that is leaning into personality disorder, abusive tendencies, some say avoidant attachment, but I think that is just a veil for more of these toxic patterns. So be very careful what you subscribe to around this attachment theory stuff. I think there's value in it for self-awareness, but we don't want to use it to justify truly toxic and harmful behavior. Number 3 is you're not seen or heard. You feel invisible. And there's no asking, like having banter, like how was your day, sitting and talking, actually being able to connect. He doesn't make special plans. You feel like you have to be the one dragging to make plans, or you have to ask for a plan. You have to say, oh, we haven't had a date in a long time, or we never do anything special or nice. He's not initiating those things unless you're in that making up part of the pattern of things are going well. Maybe you've said, this isn't working for me. I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. Or you've removed access to something that he wants. And then maybe he is doing some of those extra nice things or planning dates to woo you back. But consistently, there is none of that going on. And you feel like you have to beg for the smallest things, like point of connection, or just talking about your day, or just like yapping, right? Talking, going for a walk, talking about your day or what happened at the office or whatever. And it's just a light conversational piece. But if you're missing that, and then you also notice that he doesn't seem to take in your ideas or desires and really ignores your needs, that is a sign that things are much more than just a misalignment. Number 4 is nothing ever feels resolved, like nothing gets resolved. Because there's no sitting down and talking through issues calmly with both people, being able to just express and listen, and you go back and forth in a flow of conversation. That is not happening. So you never feel heard, and it always ends up in a bad argument or a fight that leaves you emotionally drained. There's no resolution, and you feel like all the problems are your fault because he takes no ownership of his behavior and no accountability and fully owning impact. Instead, there's a lot of blame shifting, the circular communication going around. And so no matter how you spin it, however it is you raise it, when you choose to raise it, how you choose to say it, it never feels resolved. There's always this feeling in the back of your mind like that did not feel resolved. And so then it can actually lead to a lot of circular rumination that creates a lot of distraction. Women will always say to me, I don't do my best work when things are left unresolved because I'm left overthinking and replaying fights when I'm at work or when I'm trying to see clients or work on my business, that the mental clarity and focus is just not there because that is taking up a lot of their mental bandwidth because you're trying to close loops in your brain that cannot be closed because they're not coming from you, right? And then number 5 is there's no affection, reciprocity, or that depth of emotional connection. And you'll find that the only affection you seem to get is when they want sex, or you might want it as well because it's the only time you might get their attention. So that can happen too. But what I see for the most part is that many women develop an intense sexual aversion to intimacy after a time with these kinds of behaviors, and also with not feeling cherished, desired, loved, and cared for outside of the bedroom. And so their body begins to shut down what their emotions are trying to ignore. Like they're not wanting to look at the truth of the emotion, but their body does it for them. And So there are a lot of things that can go on in a relationship when it is unhealthy, when a woman sets that limit or her body shuts down and she's no longer wanting to be intimate. Number 6, you're constantly feeling tense, like a knot in your gut, a heaviness in your chest, and like the term walking on eggshells, or just feeling like you have to kind of tiptoe and anticipate his needs and what kind of mood he's going to be in. You worry about his reactions. You might flit around the house trying to make sure there's nothing around that he can say something about that might start a fight. You wonder what kind of mood he's going to be in when he gets home, or what kind of criticism there will be thrown at you. And so you're always on this edge, waiting for something to happen. And many women share that they dread the sound of their partner pulling into the driveway, or when they know they're coming home after a business trip or something where they've been gone a while, and they are able to tap into the peace they feel in the home and their harmony with their kids. They get into a routine. Everybody's calmer. Everybody's more harmonious. And then as soon as they come in the door, the tension comes in with them, and it can create a lot of dread and anxiety for both the women and their children. Number 6, he doesn't apologize. And some of them might say, "I'm sorry," but anybody can say, "I'm sorry." So it's not even the "I'm sorry," it's the owning impact. This is something I really believe, because saying sorry really means nothing much, right? How many times have you even heard, "I'm sorry, but," "I'm sorry you feel that way, but," "I'm sorry that you think I did that." "I'm sorry, I said I'm sorry. What more do you want? Nothing is ever good enough." Or "I'm sorry if I did that," or "I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings," or that hurt your feelings. No, that's not an apology. And so that's why he might say, "I said I'm sorry, what more do you want?" It's like, well, yeah, but I'm not feeling it. There's something missing. And what's missing is owning impact. But because he has this need to have a perfect persona and believes he can do no wrong, this is why he will never admit fault. He will never be able to actually say, "I regret that. That came out wrong. I shouldn't have said it that way. I could see how it would have landed that way and felt that way to you, and I'll work on it. And I will, I won't do that again," or something. "I can see that hurt you." Something small like that, but then following it up with not doing it again. That's a real apology. If you're finding that he's giving some kind of pseudo apology over and over and over and over for the same shit, that is a problem. That is not something that is normal. Normal people don't carry on in ways that they have to keep apologizing for over and over. They're not dealing with someone coming to them saying, "That hurt my feelings, how you treated me." Number 7, when you express yourself, you're met with things like eye rolling, deep sighs, and stonewalling. So stonewalling can look different ways. It can be, "I'm not arguing with you. I'm not having this conversation with you." They might fiddle on their phone or fiddle with something else, not even look at you, look past you, look all around the room. They might stare at you with this blank, weird stare on their face with no expression. When you're sharing something really painful, you could be crying and they'll sit there with a completely flat effect, a flat facial expression. It's really unnerving, right? And that is all forms of stonewalling. And this is not an occasional thing. This is every single time. And this is when you are trying to express yourself. And you'll also find that there's never a good time, quote unquote, to talk about it. And that it's never brought up in the quote unquote perfect way, the perfect tone, whatever, right? And so these are all ways that the issues do not get addressed. And then number 7 is he never listens, like truly listens to your concerns. He will busy himself or act disinterested in what you're saying. Often the subject gets changed, or he deflects, minimizes, or belittles your feelings. He may also make you feel as if your ideas are silly or nonsense, or will go on about how what you're suggesting will never work. And this is every time, like all the time when you have ideas, it's met with this wall of resistance, of it won't work, of deflecting, of minimizing, and it's exhausting. And then the last one that is the effect of all of this is you feel lonely and emotionally neglected in your relationship. It feels very empty. And it is common for women to engage in affairs who are in these relationships. This does not help the thing. It doesn't help the situation, because then you look as though you are equally at fault because you strayed outside of the marriage, and that's not condoning it. It's much better to walk away and leave a relationship and go date as a single woman if you want to, than the fallout of cheating and infidelity and what that does. And nothing ever good comes from that. And it comes from the root of it being all of these ways that you are being treated over time. And so when you feel like you don't exist to your spouse and there's no connection and no emotional intimacy, emotional affairs can be quite common. If you were to develop a connection with someone else on an emotional level where you're getting needs met that you're craving within the relationship, but they're not being met. So a lot of women that I've worked with, especially privately, they have been in this type of situation and they are holding shame around it and guilt and everything else. And the thing with it is that you want to make sure that you are behaving in self-integrity in ways that feel good to you. That is really the most important thing. So in any of these patterns, if you're experiencing one or more of these things, this is going to require something beyond just trying to talk about it some more, going to another therapy session and talking about it some more. This requires an intervention level approach, like coming in hot, let's deal with this now, let's shift things quickly, and you turn yourself into the power position and asking yourself, instead of, how can I be good enough for him? Like, how can I change me so that I can finally be loved and be chosen by him for real? And we shift it into, is he actually good enough for me? That is the power move. And that is what we're going to be going into inside of my 30-day Break the Cycle intensive we're doing in November. This is a 2.0 version of the End the Cycle 30-day bootcamp. I debuted in 2019. I'm bringing it back, but it's an updated, revised edition, and there's a lot more extra perks in it, including a Telegram channel where you get coaching with me each day of the week, and a whole lot more. This is about you stepping into your power and no longer operating as though you are less than, because that is what you have been doing. You have been allowing how he treats you to make you feel less than, and you're constantly hustling to try and prove how worthy you are through all kinds of different means. And it does not work. So you have to value you. You have to know your worth. You have to respect you. And all of those things are the foundation for how other people get to treat you. So a woman who's truly in her power and in her sense of worth and knows she's deserving of healthy love, of respect, of being cherished, of being protected, she will not tolerate that. But you have been in this for so long, you've lost sight of that. And so in the boot camp, we're breaking out of that fog. We're breaking out of the confusion and the lack of certainty, getting clear on what's really going on here. You getting clarity on your process and what it is you need to do to shift your part in the dynamic. So we're focusing on your changes, boundaries, all of those things. And then toward the end, you make a decision whether some women do decide by that time, because they're already at that cusp, that they're going to leave. I've seen various things. And then others, it gives them a huge boost and clarity and momentum. They don't necessarily leave in 30 days, but they've changed. They're different. And when you come into the boot camp and you want more of a longer term transformation and support on the other side, then the phase 2 of that is coming into the collective. So the boot camp is more for, you're in this relationship, you're not sure what's actually going on. You identify with one or more of these things that we just covered today, and you're not sure where to go from here. Give it more time, do more therapy, talk about it some more, wait around, see if maybe his changes that he pulls out every now and then are going to last. You just kind of hope and pray that things will be okay. You bury your head in work, the kids, everything else, and just hope it all resolves itself, but you're actually ready to stop waiting and you want to feel empowered with a plan. Then get yourself on the wait list for this boot camp. The link will be in the show notes. And I hope that this enlightened you and awakened something within you to recognize that perhaps what is going on in your relationship, the conflict, the misalignments, the emotional chaos, the lack of connection, the arguments around the same things over and over and over again, that they're not normal, they're not part of a healthy relationship, and that it might be time for you to make some new moves that protect your emotional and mental, as well as your physical health and well-being. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode. A few reminders. Number one, make sure you're following me over on Instagram at Awakening Women, as well as my Awakening Women YouTube channel. There are links in the show notes to follow me on those other platforms. I'm going to be doing more YouTube as I build more of that platform. And if you love this show and it has helped you and served you in any way at all, please leave me a 5-star rating and written review on Apple, and you can leave a rating on Spotify. I always appreciate getting the feedback, and as a form of energetic reciprocity, I'm very grateful for you for taking that few seconds to leave your feedback. All right, talk to you in the next episode. Bye for now.